We're live, you guys. I'm just gonna leave it up. We're about 5 minutes off, so. I get to mute Vanessa. She's sitting there.
Your water is all on well, correct?
Yes.
See, ours is primarily spring fed.
So we were fortunate that we had the other wells affected. That was our largest issue.
And it was at night
Yeah. And there.
in Fairway. Yeah, since we wash cows with chlorinated water.
Yeah. Makes no sense, but we have to, it'll turn out.
Think out of the holes. I understand.
I understood that when they first, maybe you guys do.
That's what they
I'm
want.
gonna say, didn't tell any of us to drink out of the holes out of the farm.
If it's what they want us to do, it's okay. Wake up call.
I don't know what it meant, but it was cute.
They're bringing stuff in for the auction yesterday.
Yeah, I was down there yesterday. I got a call from them this morning already. I gotta go down. Well, you'll have to wait. Bill's not in town.
Yeah. I figured I'd probably go over on Friday. Let's see.
Picture on Facebook.
Who's yours? Mine. Oh, they put it on Facebook.
Well, Connie did. I think it was Connie.
Oh,
was George. So it was Connie and Gary and you and it was John Hill.
John Hill, and
everybody, nice. Did anybody else?
Terry?
Terry Pierce.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking for.
Yeah, Terry Pierce was there.
Is it at Dave's?
Was it Dave McCarthy's house? There was, I was surprised.
When we first met them. 40 years, 20 years.
But she wasn't. Was that for?
Yeah, 77.
That's pretty cool. I got up from the husband. Sorry. That's her husband. You know, it's nice to say.
Oh, yeah, my husband went to it, but no.
But I had an appointment, we drove over to gate, because
Oh, fun.
it wasn't only around the corner, so we just drove around.
Yeah.
So I had my hair and everything.
Very cool.
Yeah, 45 years.
Yeah.
Whatever, but I just.
Well, that's funny.
Dan.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we are going to, okay, not down chair.
How are you?
Good.
Oh, jeez.
I've been.
Gotta see it.
Right here, just a little spot.
I was gonna say, if you're like me, you have several around.
Yeah.
Kobe's not gonna be here today.
Great job. You can see it. Oh, there it is. All right. I got it.
We have four sessions. And then I
Good morning. It must be.
Right now.
We all don't have anything else to do. That is a big help. Yesterday was.
Janice, you sitting back there today? Yeah, same.
I found this book. Realized he was freaking chairman of the board of supervisors. I have to drive him around when I was 16.
Okay.
He had cancer or something, couldn't drive.
Let's call this
My
meeting to
father
order.
had a book or something.
Yes.
Cindy,
Cindy.
come on up. Morning, Cindy.
Yeah, he was like 19.
Morning.
It's my voice, my allergies are just wreaking havoc, so. The first thing on my agenda is the Fairgrounds. We do this every year during the Fairgrounds week. And I like to include a little Snapchat of people who stop at our booth. I'm sure we get more in county, than stop at our booth, obviously, but I think it's interesting to see how many people or like what other counties are coming to our fair. So, so that was quite a few. Like 11 other counties people from, and because they're not just one person, they're probably coming 2 or 3 or families, So, and then we always get some people from out of state too, so. And this year, we also,
You got a prize for your booth.
yes. We got an honorable mention, so that's pretty cool.
That's good. Congratulations.
It's got a little collection going in the office now, like how we could outdo ourselves from last year. Finally got in the $250 check from New York State for doing the introduction in the New Year's Club. So, yeah, I'll do it. You do it. So,
That's for you, right?
no, I didn't. I did it as county historian, so that's,
Oh, I thought it was an honorarium.
it's fine.
It could go to
I
the,
did it as county historian, so it's county historian.
okay.
I get the feeling of glory, right? So there's that. Our underground railroad map is almost done. We're in the final proofing. I'm just going over the text to make sure nothing was forgotten. So, like on some of the things where it says, Eric and I wanted the museums on the map, so people knew where they were, but as it stands, it's only naming the museum, so it's things like that, I want the street address on there too, so they like know where it is. So just little corrections like that, it's beautiful though, full color, so it'll be a nice map. I attended the Wyoming County Bar Association's reception to celebrate the 11th slave case exhibit. That had to do with slaves, a slave family, well, they were slaves, they were brought into New York State. And New York State said, well, they came into the state as free people, therefore you can't sell them as slaves. So it was like a major case against slavery in the state of New York. And it was a traveling exhibit. So that while I was there, Judge Mullen pointed out that we had worked together to get two of the paintings done, through the Bar Association, to get them refurbished and hanging back in the, courtroom, and there were people from the state there, and they said, oh, that's nice. I go, we got you more, so I put in for Judge Norton, so that's gonna be done. He's like around 1900, but he's painted by a very prominent Buffalo artist called Raphael Beck. And in looking at his list of done works, this portrait is not listed. So me and the judge decided we're gonna make a big hoopla out of that, call the Buffalo newspapers in when that is done. And so that's the update on that, judge's portraits, so.
And they're quite large.
Yes, they are quite large and they're quite heavy. And this time, the person who does the restoration for us, she's like, not only the cheapest, she's also very good. And Middlebury Historical Society uses her all the time. And I think Attica has used her a couple times too, so. But she's moved to Niagara Falls, so that'll be her day trip. So. And recently, SHPO sent new information on the guidelines for federal and New York State historic preservation, like what the curriculum, the specs are and what the tax rebates are. So I attached all of that to my agenda, so you can, print it out and see what, anything you want to do or anything you want to pass along to your residents. It has a list of frequently asked questions on the back, like, I can't change this and that, but we really can, porches are one of the things. They realize that if you use wood now, it's not gonna hold up to the weather, sort of like my porch at the office. I've been looking into that, just to pass it on to buildings and grounds. They accept things that are, it's that composite porch stuff, but it looks exactly the same as real. And that's the kind of thing they're going for, as long as you keep the character of the building. Obviously you need modern bathrooms, so so there are things you can do to your building, especially public use ones, so. I guess that's almost it. I mean, there's always other stuff. Those are the biggies. Any questions on anything? No? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Jennifer, I guess I'll let you go and do your stuff, because Dan also has executive session stuff, so if you wanna do your stuff, and then when Dan gets done doing his public stuff, we'll keep going.
If Board of Elections doesn't show this weekend, because they're not gonna actually dispose of. Scraps. Yeah.
Have an appropriation, but it's not from any funds available. It's from 0114200.412890 other department income. Because Dan Nelson pays half of the Westlaw bill and it just wasn't appropriately budgeted. So Janice gave me the number this morning so that we get it from where it is to where it's supposed to go.
Let me just read it back to you, just make sure I've got it right. 0114200.412890. Make sure I caught all the zeros.
Any motion on that? Mr. Professor McHale, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And number two, I have two assistant county attorneys. If they have a conflict on an issue, I have been covering it, even though it's not county attorney work technically, but save us money if I can cover it, I cover it. However, there are some cases that all three of us are conflicted out And I have not been able to get a favor from Livingston, Orleans, or Genesee to cover a case for me. So I have outside counsel, Zach Beasley, that I'm looking to do as an FYI. It's going to be not to exceed $3,000. We're working on the contract and we'll have it uploaded and finished in Munis today. I have worked with Janice for the appropriation for it. I have $32.95 sitting in an account from Dave Nelson's old contract that either needs to be applied somewhere to where we increased Brian Dennett's salary or can be partially applied to this. So I'm going to be working with Janice to figure that out. And Janice and I talked about maybe she'll put something on her finance agenda for next week. And so it's an FYI that I'm working on that, so we have coverage for cases that everybody's kind of. Another FYI, we do have a signed contract finally out of Demadio's office for the Ag Center, and so I anticipate both will be happening soon. He's working on it. So I'll keep everybody updated as that happens. But finally have a signed contract, so that's good. And everything else I have is in attorney-client session.
Do you have any questions? On to the next page, top of the page, the Board of Elections. And I declared surplus and disposed of 20 Canadian gas ballot and you said that, okay, machines are breaking down and they're mess like, but you're not getting rid of, they're keeping.
We're not like selling them, we're scrapping and we're taking them apart and scrapping part and, keeping some for parts. That's what I'm told.
Moved.
Motion by Supervisor Becker, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Alright, Dan. Next.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The first one is the correction of the date for the overnight travel authority, which has already occurred, to attend the New York State Relations Association. The meeting started at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, so travel was required on Sunday, and we just needed to change the dates.
And identify Gabby as the second.
Yeah, we had identified to be determined the commissioners prior to the Thank you.
We're gonna do a motion. Any questions? The motion by Supervisor Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We're currently conducting a review of schedule handbooks, and this one has to do with Schedule G and the eligibility to receive New York State statutory disability. It's a necessary change to comply with New York State law. I ask you to approve the proposed language.
Remind me again, what are Schedule G employees?
Schedule G are grant,
Are
employees on grant.
on grants? Okay,
Exclusively grant.
exclusively.
So if someone's a half and half, they're not on G. It's if their position is funded. We have a few, it's mainly in defender's office and a couple of health department, a couple of city assess.
Sure. Okay.
Do they contribute to this? $2?
Okay.
So they're already paying into it, so they should be able to get it.
I think that's correct.
So you want this to be, you want a motion made to do the proposal?
Well, we can do the next one, it's kind of the same thing. This is an amendment, it's the Schedule C, D, and S, which is, Schedule C is the non-union employees of the hospital, Schedule D is directors, Schedule S is support of non-union personnel. And this has to do with the FSA account, which doesn't cost the county anything. It's a contributory pre-tax savings account for employees. We put this into effect 4 years ago, And we're just looking to update the language in Schedule C, D, and S handbooks to reflect practice. And again, this is a non-county expense, so don't worry 100% by the board. So I'd ask you to move 2 or 3, if you would.
Other than that, Sandy.
Do you have any other questions? Okay, motion by Supervisor Lord for 2 and 3, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Number 4 is an amendment to salary schedule S for the finance clerk 1 position to correct the hourly rate to $21 an hour, which is lower than what appeared.
I need an effective date too, but I can get with you to get the first day of, I think this, I don't remember if it's stuff in here.
Have a motion for that?
Sure.
Supervisor Duncan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Number 5 is an amendment to resolution 22-158 to authorize the chairman to play with Penny Saver of Warsaw for advertising. As previously discussed in the meeting in resolution 22-90, this is a housekeeping measure to enable us to
Motion by Supervisor Duncan.
Aye.
Opposed?
any of your replies. For the non-hospital, non-clinical positions that we're advertising, yes. For the clinical positions in the hospital, not really. You know, and it's one of these things where it's my judgment, and I think most of you agree, that you gotta be out efficient. I'm not sure we're catching a lot of people, but I want to talk a little bit about that in executive session with you, what's happening. We can go into that in much greater detail. For items for discussion, you all have an AP report. Your packet continues to be good, strong usage of the AP as well as training. So I'm very happy with the way that's working out. And I think I reported to you last month that we renegotiated our contracts with the AP at a very modest increase. So I'm happy about the way that's working. I want to have a discussion with you regarding service awards. If you may recall, a couple of months ago, I came to you and then we had a little dog and pony with the new awards and everything. And we agreed that we were going to extend the service award program that has been in place in the hospital for a long time to all county employees. And we were going to commonize the award to be a county award, not a hospital award. And we agreed that we were going to move forward. And I have bought pins, and actually got an example of that right there, as well as acrylic awards in the clock for certain threshold years. So we're all set to move forward to the hospital, and a question arose here on the county side. We would ask Cheryl and I to work together to formulate a plan on this, and we've talked, and we've come to a decision point that we need to do the guidance. So the question is, do we award county side employees the award that they're only eligible for based on their current threshold year? Or do we do a makeup award where we go back and we say, well, you know, you're not in a threshold year, let's say you're 19 years instead of 20. Should we go back and award you your 15-year award as a catch-up, as an example? Needless to say, the expense of doing that, it would be significantly more than I asked for originally, because we have a lot more people to give reports to. And it would also delay the award ceremony because I have to order those plaques. So I can see both sides of the equation. Trying to do something nice for people and to recognize their service and to leave a bunch of people out, you know, could be perceived as a negative, although it's not the way I think I presented it to you. So I'm looking for some guidance. How do you want it to?
At that point, would you go back to, if you're doing 15, would you go back to a 10 or 5 also?
Well, I don't think that's what Cheryl and I talked about.
But Brian, if you roll this out on the county side, and as long as I've been here, they've never been service awards. So there will be several people who have been here 20+ years who have never received one of these, and then you've got people getting their 5-year and their 10-year because they're actually on that mile marker. So you have a lot of people going, hey, what about me? I didn't get anything, and I've at least got my 15 years in.
So, I mean, I can see both sides of the coin, and I'm reluctant to try to do a good thing and then turn it into a negative. But again, it's going to delay the award ceremony because I have to go back and order all the stuff now.
If I may make a suggestion, should the committee decide to go and do the backgrounds, again, just going back to the latest 5-year increment, that I wouldn't want to delay the ceremony. Maybe what we could do is give them a certificate and then say that they will be coming at a later date. And then we'll deliver their awards later.
We have a pin in the certificate for it, we just wouldn't have the acrylic or the clock.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I really don't have any clue how long it's going to take to get all that stuff ordered and then custom.
And I wouldn't want to delay it.
So you're saying if somebody's at 6 years, they're gonna get their 5-year award? Everything up till year 9? If they're here 9 years, they get their 5-year?
Yeah.
And then the next year, they'll get another award because of this.
And that can be explained in the ceremony as well, too. Just to clarify.
Because it's a kickoff season for starting the program.
Yeah, because no matter when you start it, you're gonna have that.
It's just the nature of the beast.
I like when we actually have barbecue.
That's so easy.
So much
Chicken barbecue, all employees are appreciated, right? That was fun.
It was nice.
I agree. That was like, okay, that's chicken barbecue, that's fun. Yeah. Supervisor served it. Wasn't it fun, Jerry?
Yes.
So how would you like to proceed? I mean, I'm open to either one. I have no problem with it. I have the things in hand for those people on their threshold years. So we would probably hold them until everything came in and we decided to do this catch up.
So what's everybody's thoughts?
I think you have to draw a line in the sand. So just start now and move forward, or you're going to be retroactive to when. I mean, it just seems like you're muddying the waters.
I agree with what Vanessa just said. Go ahead, line and sand. The program starts today, and thing after here. Those milestone years are what you do, not retroactively.
Well, they wouldn't get like a 5-year, 10-year, and a 15.
Well, yeah, I
But
know.
if somebody's been here 16 years and they get nothing, they gotta wait for 20 years, right? That's kind of, I've got to see it do nothing. Take somebody out.
If they get the chicken barbecue.
I really need to chicken barbecue.
How many years is the
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think you'll create some. Hey, I said, don't be, right?
I remember doing everybody.
No, I just.
Yeah, especially if you've been here 25 years, and you're gonna retire at 30, and not, you have to wait till you're 30, you get nothing until you're 30 years.
26, yeah, or 26 years, you get that.
I I really hesitate
That's happening.
to put something in place that is designed to be a proactive employee recognition event, and then have our efforts to do a good thing soured because of something that's relatively easy to do and relatively inexpensive.
Right. But I think if somebody's gonna look back and say, I'm gonna my 20 year, you're gonna also look back and say, well, I need my 15 or my 10 or my 5.
Yeah.
If they're gonna be, don't understand when you start the program.
Well, the 5 is opinion, everybody's gonna get opinion, so that's.
And if you're not gonna get technical, nobody
Right,
wants to pay or
it's one of these things where no good deed goes on.
Chicken barbecue.
or the chicken barbecue. I mean, if you wanna get technical. I'd say do away with the ceremony and give them something. I mean, I'm with Janice.
Do away with everything, give us money.
Yeah, that's what I said to Sandy just now. If you wanna really push the envelope, nobody cares about paying a certificate. They'd rather have this. So that's what makes the world go round.
Why are we going backwards? So, I don't know. What's the cost of going back and getting practically everybody on work?
Between 10 and 12,000. One time, and then go forward, yeah. It's-
How many of the things that we already bought that we haven't?
For the hospital side, I've got a couple hundred.
Oh, for the county side.
Oh.
It was in there.
I don't know off the top of my head, in the neighborhood of 75.
Those are already purchased.
They're already there, yeah,
And they
Already got it.
know,
they're already engraved, they're already ready to go.
because that's what this is going to be.
Authorized the first time.
Throw on top of this, I'm not opposed to going back to the chicken barbecue. I've been thinking that's probably something do for the hospital.
Well, hospital people get those kind of things.
No, I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
the COVID thing, I was thinking, I just never.
There are employee appreciation food events at the hospital fairly routinely. Between ice cream, scoops, and vendor dinners and things, that happens up there quite a bit.
So what are you guys thinking? Like, well, give everybody that's close to their years or down the line, say, get it.
So what are the different, you got 5 years, you get a pin, at 10 years, what do you get?
An acrylic, I think, 15, you get and then a certificate, 15, you get an acrylic that says 15, and a certificate, 20, you get a plaque, and a certificate.
Do we know the number of employees we're talking about that we would have to go retroactive to?
We went retroactive, you see every single employee on the county side who has greater than 5 years of service, so it's gonna be gone.
So what if we draw the line in the sand and say, you know, if going back, if they've been here more than 20 years, we recognize them, or 15 years, whatever that number is, moving forward, I think 5 and 10 is a little too far over the line for me. I'd be happy to recognize those who have been committed to the county for 15 or 20 years in arrears, you know, if they're in between their award year, but 5 or 10 seems a little overkill.
Yeah, the other thing I'd ask you to consider while you're deliberating this question is the commonality of awards for the hospital folks and the county side. The whole purpose of this was to make sure that people were treated equally on both of our employee bases. And all the people in the hospital get 5-year, 10-year, 15-year. And the argument that started this whole thing was why are they treated differently than we are on the county side? So we talked about making it the same. So all of our employees will be treated the same.
And I'm fine with that going forward. But we're talking about in the rears, that seems just a little, I don't know. You have to start somewhere with one of these award programs. And if we're going back, how far are we going back? To the foundation of the county, to current employees? I mean, it seems like if we go retroactive to 15 or 20 years, recognize them and send a letter of, I don't know, appreciation to every employee and a paycheck they'll be, and then move forward with it. It to me, it just seems tedious to go back and award 5-year pins and 10-year pins and that sort of thing to people who really are going to look at the pin and probably throw it in the ditch and never look at it again.
Why don't you suggest that? I'm not committed.
Well, if,
I would think that this is something we should discuss at committee of the whole, when you got 16 supervisors here. Just my thought.
I'll come back and bring it to your attention once again, that's all.
Here's one more.
Yeah, I've got one other thing too.
all right, then we will discuss it at the whole. Everybody's there.
Okay, so I have one other item for discussion and one other item for action. The item for action is, as again, a housekeeping. We need to amend the payroll clerk FTE position code salary to an hourly rate of 21, or salary equivalent of 38,220, effective June 6th. This is the board actually passed 22, and we were able to negotiate a salary of 21. And with a probationary completion increase to 2150. So I'd ask to amend that from 22 to 21, effective 6/6 of this year, with a 50-cent increase to 2150 upon completion of successful probation, which again is lower than what you originally.
Do you have any questions? Motion by Supervisor Becker, all in favor? Opposed?
Cheryl, thank you for the reminder. And the last item I want to give you an update on is payroll units. We are on schedule for the test run of the payroll units program. My payroll people are today, tomorrow, and Thursday are in continuous unit sessions for 10 hours a day. And I think at the end of that 3 days, we should have a real good handle on a payroll side of it, which is about the promise. That's half the coin. So I want to talk a little bit about the other half of the coin so we're all on the same page. So we've talked before about the ongoing monthly expense of maintaining the ACS program. One of the things that is in ACS is all the employment records, payroll records, retirement records, and all the various movement records of every single person who's ever worked for the county since the beginning of time, as well as every person who's ever worked for any of your towns, all of the villages, and all the school districts. All of that information is in the ACS program. Without it, I can't verify anybody's payrolls. I can't verify anybody's retirements. It puts us out of business, okay? We absolutely have to maintain that ACS program until satisfactory replacement is in place. That, quite honestly, is one of the reasons why I've been coming to tell you that I'm very uncomfortable about this. So Bill Sykes and I have been talking about this. He is either is in the process or just has sent out an RFP to replace that either within the Munis system or in a different system. But until such time that I'm confident that we're not going to lose any of these records, we have no choice. I can't possibly put all of those records in jeopardy.
So I pulled up my email yesterday, or Bill Sykes emailed us about that. just keep you updated. I'm waiting on the prices from both ACS and Munis on the conversion. ACS has mentioned we may bill $600 per year for historical data. But they are checking into that. That it is the case. They will follow as soon as we know. So that's really good news. That's all it is, $600 a year.
Just to keep that, so we have the database.
The historical database of that. But I mean, it's still because we have it in our, in the Munis.
My preference would be to have one system that deals with both retroactive and prospective information, and that we don't have to jump back and forth, because, that would just, the more times you do that, the more times there's a chance for a mistake. And I think that the historical record has to be completely transferred over electronically. It's not a re-enter situation. We're talking about literally millions of data entry points. So I'm anxious to hear what Bill has to say, but I wanted you to understand that that's the problem here. Not the payroll side of it, but the historical record. And it involves all of your towns, all the village employees, and anyone who ever worked since the beginning of time.
It's at the beginning of time, it's since like 1975 when they implemented ACS, because beyond that, they would go back to a manual roster record.
Correct.
And those still exist in that building.
Yeah, they're a little 3x5 cards. Yeah, correct. But
So when employees going forward now, when we hire new, are they being built all into?
ACS.
Or they're still being built in ACS?
They're still being built in
Will they be
ACS.
built in units or no?
not until this side
Not until
of the uses.
It doesn't even exist yet, really. because
Correct.
the Munis is gotta be built from the ground up. So,
Correct.
And Supervisor Cal and I had a meeting for the process, and he understands that this is an extreme priority, and that we are looking to have a solution in place by the end of the year, so that we don't have to bill $40,000 for ACS. And so that's what he is, the update. He's gonna try to have something more concrete to bring to this committee, but the time wasn't there. So I anticipate that at finance, we will have an additional update. on this list.
So that's more of an update for you, but Mr. Kale and Chairwoman and I have been having ongoing conversations about this problem now for months. So that it is not something that I just discovered and brought to your attention. And this has been a problem that we've been trying to deal with for quite some time.
I agree with you, Dan. I don't think we're well served to have to maintain a legacy system with all of that information when we should be migrating that data over into Munis. Otherwise, we get into issues where there could be potential conflicts between the two. Now you're maintaining software on both ends. It just becomes very problematic.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Right. So the sooner we can convert that ACS data over into Munis, the better, obviously, but I don't think we want to maintain a legacy system.
And if Bill comes back with a recommendation that says Munis is not the best answer, this other thing is the best answer, he's the guy.
Right.
And trust his judgment.
Sure.
Certainly not my area of expertise. Okay, that is it for my presentation out of executive session. I do have some things to talk with you about in executive session. Thank you.
We did yours already, guys. Anything you want to talk about, the election,
Yeah, I already did that.
We approve.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know it was next year,
Well, we've already,
You did it.
we've already moved yours.
Okay, so you're all set?
We're all set.
But the language here has changed just a little bit. We've been working down at the records retention facility with IT. So we are going to dispose of 20 of the old image cast ballot marking machines, okay?
Okay.
We're going to keep 5 of just the ballot marking machines. Those are the ones that we take out in general election to Arcade, Attica, Perry, and Warsaw. We have an extra machine there, during
general election. So we're keeping 5 of those. We're salvaging 5 of the old image cast machines. We're keeping those. They were serviced in the last couple of years, and Joe decided that we should keep them. We put some money into them. They've been updated. So we're gonna keep those. So we're gonna have 5, which is the scanners only. 5 of the old image cast machines that we've refurbished in the last couple of years, plus 20 of the brand new ice machines. 16 are coming in tomorrow, okay? 4 that we already have there from Grant Line. So we'll have a total of 20, plus 5 scanner machines only, and 5 ballot marking devices, okay? So that's what we have there, okay?
I'm gonna call Sandy.
And the new ones are coming in tomorrow. Dominion's IT people are coming Thursday to do what they gotta do with our IT people. I guess we need to know where do we go with these old machines. What we've done is we got all the computer stuff off, okay? So now we just got these tin boxes. I guess is a good way to put it. Who do we contact? We try to contact Buildings and Grounds, do we contact the Highway Department? Where do you folks go here in the county to get rid of scrap? We haven't done this before the election, so I don't know where to go.
So the departments do that typically on their own, and I would probably talk to both
Okay,
Buildings and Grounds and IT, because depending on who's got the better.
right. Now Joe's taking care of all the computer stuff. They take it down to yeah. So they're taking care of that stuff, okay? But we don't know where to go with the tin. Now, I could take it and sell it probably and just, keep the money for beer money, but that wouldn't probably go over real well.
They're over, man.
That's happened before in Wayne County, but
Or highway, I don't know if they have dumpsters that are specifically
well,
for.
we'll talk to the highway and we'll talk to, if they don't have answers, we'll talk to Buildings and Grounds. Somebody's gotta have answers,
Pembroke,
Once,
haul it up to Pembroke,
what's that?
haul it up to Pembroke.
Yeah.
That's where we take all ours.
Well, I'd argue with that there's a better outlet somewhere else, so you and I would probably, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's scrap. Scrap is scrap.
Right, I know, but we just want to make sure we dispose of it properly and the money comes back in the general fund, I guess, right, or whoever. Who will make the check out to, or who.
Because we want to count.
In the past, like when we renovated DSS, your building, the hospital, and a lot of them windows, the old windows, got a dumpster, threw them into, loaded it up, and then took it to a scrapper. And they'll bring a dumpster in if that's what you want to do. Buildings and Grounds handle it. Go to county highway, have them loaded.
Yeah, we'll say so.
Into a dump truck, you drive over to like properties or at Arnold's or somebody and they weigh it on the way in, they weigh in the truck on the way out and they pay the money for the weight in between.
So, but anyhow, we're in the right direction, we're coming tomorrow, we're starting in Wayne County. The truck load, they're gonna be there, they're gonna get here about. Just to give you a little side note here, kind of a funny story. We got word from the disability rights people in New York that the township of Perry, they found out during the 2020 census had a correctional facility. Okay, 742 inmates. Did you know that, Jim? Okay. So they're telling us that because Perry is now the biggest municipality in Wyoming County, we have to move our early voting site from Warsaw to Perry. Or we have to open up another voting center in Perry because you have to have one in the biggest municipality, largest.
I was gonna stop you and tell you to not get too crazy, because there are some corrections to our data, right?
It's all taken care of.
There you go.
We work with planning, they explained to us what had happened. We sent a nice letter to the disability people. How can this happen? How, with all of this information and technology, how in the world can this happen? Think about it.
Human error.
Correction facilities just don't pop up overnight. So it's all taken care of, we sent all the information, and we got a nice letter back stating that, oh, we're sorry, but, we're okay. Isn't that something? I mean, you gotta just tell me where this stuff comes from.
Every 10 years, that goes
So,
period.
and not only that, so out of the 742 inmates, 80% were of color.
Of course, that's all.
Did you know that, Jim?
John is hard.
Pardon?
John is hard.
Yeah, there you go. But other than that, we're okay, and, the August, primary, we had 1,943 voters. We didn't think it would be a big turnout, but it had to be done, so, all right. So now we're getting ready to finish that class. Any questions?
How much did early voting cost?
We had 76 people voted early, 80 hours. During the week, we maintain that with our staff. But on the weekends, the 2 weekends, so we were open 8 hours first 2 days and 8 hours the last weekend, so that's 32 hours. And then we got 2 nights we were open 4 hours and 4 hours, so that's another 8 hours. So 40 hours we have to man that at about $30 an hour. So that was $1,200 just for those hours, okay? We, like I said, we man during the week, we take care of it on our own, you know. So 76 voters, $1,200, do the math. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Just like to spend money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
You take it,
I do,
you keep this.
I do. So we'll do that, we need a motion, no,
Okay.
because that's a turning point. But we'll need a motion, then,
Okay.
yeah, but we can.
Okay, as soon as, Cheryl, let's take YouTube down, we're going to go into client attorney privilege, and then from there, we will move into the second